Life just isn't the same in Greece, at least not on this street, in the outskirts of Athens. Here among neighbours, Nikos and Yanis meet. They have little to celebrate, plenty to criticise. So tells me Nikos, a former construction worker who's been unemployed since 2009.
I used to be a construction worker. I'm out of work since 2009. My world has been turned upside down. I used to have money in my pocket, and now, nothing. I was supposed to get my pension next year, and now that has been pushed back by 2 years. Just put yourself in my position.
Now he just feels anger. Understandable, for a man who at 58 has had to ask his own mother to share her pension. A plea so painful, it has clearly battered his pride. His wife Valentina prefers not to dwell on this, focusing instead on their pride, their 4 sons, all unemployed.
This one wanted to be a journalist. This one wanted to be a coach.
But the wounds of austerity are hard to ignore. And soon this kindergarten cook, who has seen her wages slashed by 55%, returns to her harsh reality.
Who to help first? The 4. I don't buy anything for myself, so I can help them. I had to pay 260 euros in taxes. I only earn 800. So I haven't paid the taxes and gave the money to my son to help him with rent.
So in a state of desperation, both her and her husband are gambling on Greece's left-wing Syriza party.
Things can't get any worse with the new government. And if they do, we'll vote again for someone else.
Their neighbour Yanis, who was let go by his company after 26 years of service, doesn't hold much hope for politicians or their policies.
Things have changed a lot. We don't see a way out. We have been patient 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
And with time comes the realization that perhaps the worst is yet to come.
I don't believe change will come, and actually I don't think we've hit rock bottom.
Disenchantment, despair and outrage. Life just isn't the same in Greece, at least not on this street. Isa Suarez, CNN, Athens, Greece.
These little kids, and I've just met them, they include Marvinka and Maya and Maya and Abraham and Dobry. I've just finished up a kosher lunch, and they're getting ready for, they're very lucky, they're getting ready for a nap over there. You can see their beds made. And they're students at the only Jewish school in all of Poland. It just celebrated its 20th anniversary. And it's remarkable because there were no schools like this under communist rule. And what we're learning is that the kids are helping teach their parents about a Jewish identity that they may have been afraid to share publicly in previous generations in Poland.
I think nowadays in Poland people feel more comfortable, more open to speak about their Jewish roots, and there's still many people discovering their Jewish roots now.
There's another very tragic historic reason for why this school is so important. This map dates back to before World War II, and it shows the locations of dozens of Jewish schools before the Nazis exterminated the majority of Poland's Jewish population. And that really gets to the crux of why this school and the beautiful children here are such important symbols for the revival of Jewish culture in Poland. Ivan Watson, CNN, Warsaw.
Condolences and respect for the new king. The Saudi message for all: continuity. But never in the Desert Kingdom's modern history has a new monarch inherited so much regional turmoil. To the south, Yemen, the government collapsing, rebels running the capital. To the north, Iraq, not just attacks on the border by radical Islamist ISIS, but growing tensions with the government. And then there is oil. In King Salman's hands, the power to shape the global economy. All of it filtered through the prism of Iran. Saudi is Sunni, Iran Shia, branches of Islam with a fractious past. In 2012, King Abdullah invited Iranian President Ahmadinejad to Saudi. Since then, relations have only deteriorated. Iran seen as the hand behind the increasingly sectarian politics of Shia-led Iraq, the marginalization of Sunnis fueling in part the growth of radical Islamists like ISIS. ISIS's own global caliphate aspirations, coveting the king's role as custodian of Islam's two holiest sites, Mecca and Medina. And in Yemen, Shia Houthi rebels, judged by Saudis to have Iran's backing. By keeping its oil flowing, global oil prices falling. The Saudi assumption is Iran's economy will tank, ultimately sweeping conservatives from power. So as the US eyes a nuclear deal with Iran calculated to enable moderates, Saudi fears it will do nothing more than give hardliners what they want, nuclear weapons. Opposing positions now on King Salman's plate to manage. As for ISIS, in the past year, King Abdullah positioned Saudi as the regional lead, trying to win US backing to deploy 50,000 anti-government forces to Syria, including international troops. The US lacked appetite for that. The compromise of airstrikes and training, not particularly palatable for the Saudis either. But if there is a bad taste in US-Saudi relations, it will be the US response to the Arab Spring in 2011. In Egypt, as the US turned its back on President Mubarak, the Saudis urged him to stay. For King Abdullah, it served as an object lesson in US loyalty to Gulf allies. Continuity will be King Salman's guiding principle, but he inherits a far more complicated kingdom than his predecessor. Nick Robertson, CNN, London.